Hi everyone, so welcome along, and in this tutorial we're going to run through some of the key features that are required to model this artifact. So this was my first attempt. It's pretty simplistic in appearance, but there are still some nice features in it. So the most challenging things I found were this red curved leg that's curved in a lot of different planes, and also I suppose the arms as well as the blades themselves. So we're not actually going to draw this from start to finish. We're not really going to use any precise measurements. We're going to draw this more of a concept, and we'll just explore the features rather than the exact geometry of the artifact. So moving over to SOLIDWORKS, we're going to begin with a center rectangle sketch on the top plane. I'm going to hit space bar and normal 2, and we're going to be very clever because we're not going to model 4 different arms or 4 different blades. We're going to model one of them and mirror them about the default planes of reference. So it's very important that this center rectangle starts at the origin. That means when I go over here to the front plane and the right plane, they'll perfectly bisect through the origin and bisect the rectangle. So I've not really got a drawing in front of me. I'm just working on a concept that I've kind of hobbled together from a few different drawings. But I'm working off the assumption that this is going to be 390 and this vertical height is going to be 290. And I want this just for construction. So I'm going to select all of that. And the first thing I do will turn off for construction by ticking this box and tick it again to make sure it all goes for construction. And what I want is for each of the 4 corners of that rectangle to be a point where there's a rotor on the drone. I'm not going to guess it. Instead I'm going to use a sketch picture. So you either can find one on the internet or photograph one just to get some sort of scale or a guide. So let's go to Tools, Sketch Picture. The odd time sketch picture is grayed out, it simply means that a sketch hasn't started. So I'll just cancel that for a second. If you ever find that you go to Tools, Sketch Tools, and find sketch picture grayed out, just get up here and hit line and open a sketch. But it should work. Tools, Sketch Picture. So in the notes accompanying this course, I've got an image there called Drone 1, Plan Image. And this is just a screen grab I've taken from one that I've drawn previously. This could be a photograph. First thing I'm going to ask you to do is turn off that scale tool. It can be useful sometimes, but a big problem exists when you make the image significantly smaller. That scale tool still exists there and it really ruins the rotate and the zoom and the pan. So I'm going to deselect Enable Scale Tool just to turn it off. And in fact, if you ever find that the whole model is rotating a little bit awkwardly and you have used a sketch picture, chances are it's that Enable Scale Tool. This isn't that overpowering, but a photograph can be. So I'm going to get over here to full image and just up the transparency to about 60 or 70%, just so you can see it. And if you happen to press this green tick and get out of the sketch picture, you simply just double click it to activate the sketch picture again. Click anywhere within that blue frame, we'll move it, and click these corners to drag it and resize it. So take a couple of seconds there to try and just sync up all the 4 rotors with the 4 corners of the rectangle. And this is just an approximation, so it's close enough there. So I'm going to close the sketch picture over in the top left, but not the sketch over on the right. I said a few minutes ago, this is just the first attempt at this, so I'm not going to worry about too much complexity here in the middle. This is just a proof of concept for the features for now. So I'm going to start off by just doing a pretty simplistic block in the middle. And I'm going to position that there, and I'll dimension that to about 240 by 110. And if this was a real artifact, there's a good chance that would be much more organic and curved, but for today that's going to serve our purpose. So I've activated a sketch fillet now. I'm going to up it to 20 mil and sketch fillet all 4 corners of that, and that's good enough. So press the green tick to approve the sketch fillet, green tick over in the top right, or indeed a shortcut, if you double click anywhere in the background of a sketch, it closes the sketch. As soon as you close the sketch fillet, of course. So double click anywhere in the background, closes the sketch. So there we have the sketch. Let's now extrude that. So features, extruded boss base. I want this to be mid-plane, and let's cycle that up to 50 and press the green tick. As soon as the sketch is used, it becomes consumed by the feature. So over here, boss extrude 1, and it's good practice to rename all those features. I'm not going to do it in this video. You can see the sketch is there. But I can use that sketch over and over again. So if you select it and just hit the eye or the glasses, whichever version you have, it'll become visible so it can be used again. The next thing I'll do is sketch a circle, again on the top plane. And I'll hit spacebar, 90 degrees too. You can pick whatever corner you feel like. I'm going to work on this corner. I'm going to snap onto that corner of the rectangle and try to mimic as much as possible the size of the rotor. With these sketch pictures, you're never going to get them perfect. So you can see there I'm not quite concentric, but it gives me an idea. And I'll dimension that to 50. And I'll extrude that as well. So let's go to Features, extrude that up to 30. And I'm going to deselect Merge Result. Can't merge anyway. And there you have it. So this is going to be the motor housing, and I need an arm along here in a minute, and this is going to be the main casing. What I want to do now is loft the arm. You can do it in any number of ways you like. And just to give myself a guide, I'm going to look down at the top plane and press this normal 2. And it doesn't necessarily matter what face you draw this on. I'm going to start on the top here. I'm going to hit sketch, just to open up a new sketch. And I'm going to get a center line from the center of the circle. And I don't really care where I finish up over here. Just make sure that the blue line is approximately along the middle of the arm. And select that. So I've got that blue line as a kind of a guideline for the direction of the arm. And just for a minute, I'm going to hit that sketch and hide it, the master sketch. That now gives me a direction, almost like a, I suppose, a vector for the arm. So let's go to Sketch, or rather Features, Reference Geometry, and Plane. And the two clicks I'm about to click now will be the line and the point. And press the green tick. That puts a plane at 90 degrees to that line. And if I sketch on that, I'm just going to keep it simple today with a slot, 90 degrees to it. Space bar, 90 degrees to it. So I'm kind of looking at the wrong direction here. If you ever hit the space bar and it gives you the reverse, just hit the space bar again and reverse it. Now I'm looking at the direction here. That's perfect. So I want a slot, but I want to start off with a center point straight slot. And I'm not really being too fussy here. I'm just going to position it somewhere that I think looks the part. And I'm just going to drag it so it looks reasonably okay. A little bit tall. That'll be fine, okay? So what I have now is a profile there, and I'm going to loft from there over to the other end of it. Now, if you're drawing along, don't do this, because I'm going to show you some thing that's not quite right, it's not quite wrong either. You could also do the same with the other end, and I'll do it very quickly. I've now got a plane there. But if you draw a profile on there, you might as well just extrude it. That's a very straight extrude. I want a kind of more organic curved arm. So I'll just get rid of that plane actually. Let's delete it. Yes. Instead of drawing at the other end of that line, I'm actually going to draw on the right plane. And I'm going to start a sketch of a slot. And I'm going to use this as a kind of a guide. Let me see, I might draw it down to the bottom more actually. And I'm going to make this one a little bigger, a little taller. And there you have it. So I'm not given measurements because it's really going to slow the tutorial down. But what I've got, if I hide that plane, are two different profiles, and you have two different methods. You can either just draw it in the middle of the block there, or you can select the line and the point and set up a plane at the end of it, just so you have that facing the direction you're after. So let's now go to Features, Lofted Boss Base. I'm going to select this profile and that profile. And I'm going to try and force an error here actually if I can. Yeah, sometimes if the loft doesn't preview and you see those two green dots, it means the loft is twisted. So simply grab one of those green dots and try and sync them up. So in this case, I'm at the top left of that profile and the top left of that profile. It doesn't look that fancy, but if I now go to the start end constraints and change the start constraint to normal to profile and the end constraint to normal to profile, it puts a bit of a more kind of organic kink in it. And approve that. And you can't really see it there because it's not that exaggerated, but it curves from here down a little, and in the plan view it curves down as well that way. One thing I forgot to do there in the loft feature, all those have now been welded or joined together as a single solid body. So I'm going to right click the loft feature and edit it and deselect merge result. That means that that loft I'm after creating, what did I do there? I must have ticked some box. Let me try that again. Right click, edit feature. I must have accidentally ticked some other box up here, so I'm just going to turn off merge result. There we go. So now what that means is over here, solid bodies 3, I've got this top one, which is the main block there. Boss extrude 2 is the cylinder, and loft 1 is the bit going between it. So I do ultimately want all of this to be one body, but I'm not ready for that just yet. So we'll now focus on this, which is the motor housing. I do want that arm and that motor housing to be welded together now, so let's join those. Insert features, combine, join that to that, press the green tick. Now over here I've only got 2 solid bodies. I've got the main block in the middle, and I've got the combine, as it's called, which is the arm and the motor housing. Before we actually do any work to shell it out or to put a little hole in there for the spindle of the rotor, I'm going to put on a fillet. And if you just leave a regular fillet on the top there, it doesn't actually look that impressive. It looks a little bland, in fact. But what I have tended towards lately is applying a fillet and make sure it's this regular fillet, a constant size fillet, but instead of a symmetric fillet, change it to an asymmetric fillet. And that simply means when you click the edge, you can set one of the sides to go up or down further than the other. So in this case, I want that to be, let's say, 15 mil, and let's just set this one to be 5 mil and see how that looks. Okay, press OK. Yeah, that looks okay. Just looks a little more curved than the regular old fillet. Now the thing is, when I now fillet the bottom, I do want the same asymmetric fillet, but you have to reverse the direction of the 15 and the 5. So I'm not sure if you can actually take this reverse direction. Oh, you can. Previously I've changed that 15 to a 5 and changed that 5 to a 15, but just press reverse and now it looks like that. While we're at it, we might as well put a regular old fillet onto the edge there. That won't take an asymmetric fillet, so put that back to symmetric, and that will actually take a pretty big fillet. So depending on how far up along that arm you want that curve to go, I'm going to set mine to maybe 25 or so. There we have it. Looks okay. That sketch is bugging me now, so let's click that and hide it. And what we're going to do now is on this top surface, we're going to start a sketch, and I'm going to drill a hole into that. And let's see now, spacebar, normal 2. It often doesn't pick up the center. Sometimes if it doesn't pick up the center and you hover over the circle edge, it will throw up the center. But rather than wasting time, if you just call up a center line, it'll definitely pick up the top of this. It's making a liar out of me now. Let's see. At the edge. Okay, I'll try this. I'll convert entities. Yeah, that's the handiest way. I better back up and just explain that. For some reason it wasn't picking up the center, so I started a sketch of a circle on this top plane. Again, it's not inclined to pick up the center point. So I just simply went to convert entities, click the circle, press the green tick, and it puts the circle there for me. But I don't want that to be solid. So I'll click that circle and hit for construction. Press the green tick. Now you probably won't have to do that. I'm not sure why that happened, but it's fixed now anyway. So now if I hover over this circle, I should pick up the top point there. Should pick up the point to the left there with a center line. Not going well for me. Okay, I don't know why I had to do that. I just had to lay down some center lines to get the center. But in any case, now I'm ready to draw a circle on. Let's just give that an easy to remember value of diameter 12. And we'll extrude cut that in a couple mil. Let's extrude cut it down just convenient 10. So I have the arm and I've just a little hole there for a spindle. I know the real thing will be much more complicated, but this is just, like I said, a proof of concept. So I'm going to start a sketch on the bottom of that trench. And rather than drawing that circle again, I'll just hit convert entities and it'll draw the circle for me. I'm going to go to features, extrude, and let's just set that up maybe 30. Looks okay. I might just go up 40 just to get plenty of clearance. And do not merge the result. This is going to form the basis for my rotor in a couple of minutes. Okay. So in a lot of cases, we're about to draw the rotor now, but in a lot of cases you might have a very busy model going on here and you mightn't want all that confusion. You just want to focus on something small like the rotor. Now we're just doing a multi-body part model. We're not dealing with an assembly. So let's isolate this spindle, which is going to be the base of the rotor. So to do that, I'll right click the solid and select isolate. And this little box here just reminds me that I'm in an isolated environment. Whenever I want to go back, I'll just exit isolate. It'll send me back. But for now, right click, isolate. So what I'll do now is, just for a reference for myself, there might be an easy way to do this, but on the top of that cylinder, I'm just going to draw a little dot, a point over there, a point in the center, just to get my bearings. I'm then going to go to close that sketch. Features, reference geometry, plane. It's not critical which one you pick, but I'm going to select the right plane and then that dot. Now that spindle was in the middle of a random location, but at least now I have a plane going through the middle of it. So I'm going to start a sketch on it, and I'm going to use whatever curve I like. I'm going to use a 3-point arc in this case. Spacebar, 90 degrees 2. And somewhere up around here, I'm just going to put a curve like that. You may have very particular geometry you're trying to create. If so, measure them and use them. But I'm just going to more or less wing it here. That's one curve. So close that. And I want another plane, maybe 100 mil away from that. So let's go to Features, Reference Geometry, Plane. Select that plane. It's gone the wrong direction, so flip it. 100 is a little bit too much actually. Let's go to 90, that's fine. I have another plane. So on this plane, I'm going to start a sketch. Hit spacebar, 90 degrees 2. Keeps flipping the wrong way on me. This time I'm going to start another sketch, another 3-point arc, but this time I'm deliberately going to put it out of alignment with the other, and that's going to represent the twist in the blade as it goes out from the spindle. So I'm not sure how much you want to exaggerate that, but I found I didn't really exaggerate them a whole pile, and it worked okay. For neatness, I'm going to click that plane and hide it, click that plane and hide it. And here's our first bit of surface modeling. So I'm going to go to the surfaces bar, a tab. If you don't have that, right click any of the other tabs and make sure surfaces is ticked. So go to surfaces, a lofted surface from one to the other. And you can see there, if that ever happens, that happened because I selected the left of one profile and the right of the other, then simply drag that green dot over to the other side. And there I have a twisted surface out of which I'm going to cut the blade. Now it's not that twisted, but it's fine for now. You can adjust it and drag those curves as you see fit, and it'll adjust it later. So approve that, and it looks okay. Some people thicken it now. I don't, because if you thicken it when it's cut out, you get a much more uniform and neater blade. So I'm going to start on the top there with a sketch of, let's say, a line. And you can eyeball this, or you can go to Tools, Sketch Tools again, and Sketch Picture. And there's plenty of these on the internet, but I found this one on Amazon or somewhere like that, where you can actually go to Buy Blades. Again, turn off Enable Scale Tool. We'll drag and make it a bit smaller. It's very hard to see through it, so go over to Full Image, up the transparency. And to rotate it, just put 90 degrees into that box over on the left. Hit Enter. And let's drag it until it's an approximate size. Now I was just lucky, I made it just around the right size. So that'll work. And just for the crack, if you happen to have not made it the right size, obviously just go back in here to Loft. Let's right click that, Sketch. And it's just a matter of dragging that and making it a little bit wider that way. In any case, I think I'm okay, so I'm going to go back into my sketch and we'll trace around the rotor blade. So you can please yourself here. I'm going to use a combination of splines and lines. So with a spline, I'm just going to draw a 2-point spline. Then I'm going to draw a line from there to there. I missed, I'll try again. A line from there to there. And I want to click this spline. Remember, this is a spline, although it's just a straight line now, and I want that to be tangential to this. So if I hold Control and click that spline and that line, it happened now for some reason, you often don't get the tangent. If that ever happens, the most foolproof way is this. Select the line, grab this little diamond, and sometimes you have to just move the diamond and then hold Control and select the line. And in this case, I want to do collinear rather than tangential. If you ever don't get the relation you're after, sometimes those little diamonds need to be just wobbled for a second until you get them. So I'm going to drag in that arrow to pull that a little bit tighter, drag in that arrow, and that's close enough. And that has moved, so let's put that down there Okay, I'm not going to be that fussy today. So I'm going to draw a line from there to there. And let's just do another spline, seeing as I started it. Close enough. And we'll just drag that diamond around, hold control, select that guy and make those collinear. And that has moved. And if you drag, remember if you drag this arrow, it tightens up the spline a little. Drag the diamond, it steers the spline out a little. So the last thing I'm going to do here is just, let's finish this up, just a spline from there to there. Select, click this diamond, hold control, click the line, make those collinear. Where's it gone? That diamond, select it, hold control, click that line and make those collinear. And now just drag the arrow to tighten that up and match in the blade. You needn't be too fussy. If you wanted, you could put a fillet there, but once you have the profile, close the sketch. What we have here, excuse me, is a surface, and we have a sketch. So in the surfaces toolbar, we're going to trim that surface with that sketch. So let's go to trim surface. Now this happens a lot of times it automatically picks something and populates this trim tool. So always right click that and make sure that's clear, which it is in this case. The trim tool here is going to be that sketch I've just created. And the remove selections is going to be this bit. This is the bit I want to remove. Or go keep selections. This is the bit I want to keep. It doesn't matter. Press the green tick to approve it. And there you have the shape. And if you want to make any modifications to that now, it's just a matter of going back and either editing the original the sketch you did on the top or the original two sketches that generated the curved blade. So what we're going to do now is go to surfaces and we're going to thicken that. Select that. We probably only want to thicken that to 1 millimeter and do not merge a result. I'll show you why in a second. I am going to do a mid-plane. Now a mid-plane thicken of 1 millimeter means it thickens 1 millimeter up and 1 millimeter down. So I might actually change that to 0.5 and there you have it. At this point, I'm happy enough with that. I'm going to put a fillet on the edges in a minute, but the real blades actually get a little bit thinner from about the middle. So if you want to simulate that, what you can do is go to a chamfer, select this bottom edge, and just for now I'm going to change it just to a 0.5 of mil chamfer just so you can see where it is applied. It tries to put the chamfer all the way around, but if you deselect tangent propagation, it'll just put the tangent there and there for you. And now what you can do is go to this asymmetric or distance fillet, and what you can do is put on, I'll probably get this wrong, a 0.5. No, I got it wrong straight away. So you can put on 0.5 in one direction, and you can put maybe, I don't know, 20 in the other. Now it's not going to work. It's not something I do anyway, so maybe it's not going to work. I know it worked earlier for me. You can actually elongate the... Okay, so best it doesn't work. But usually you can elongate and take a really long slice off that to make it look a little bit narrower. Okay, it doesn't want to work for me today anyway. In any case. So what I am going to do is fillet it. So I'm going to go to fillet and just put a little fillet on the corner there of 0.5. And we put a fillet on the bottom, 0.5 as well, and that'll be fine. It's totally incorrect to mirror that over, because if you mirror that over, as the blade spins, one side is going to be competing with the other. So it's not actually a mirrored wing on the other side. It has to be like a mirror of a mirror. So the correct way, or the best way I found to do that, is this. Insert, features, move copy. The body to move or copy is going to be this little blade. Make sure you don't tick, so you do tick copy, because I want to leave the original there. I want to activate the rotate box and click into this box here just so I can give it a reference. And the reference is going to be that point I placed on the top a while ago. And it's going to be the middle one. Now you can try them there. You can click that up and you can see that's rotating the wrong way. So let's put that back. It's actually going to be this one. This is the one we need to rotate. And I want to rotate that 180. And there I have the same blades rotated around the other side. So now they are 3 different bodies. I want all of this to be welded together. So let's go to Insert, Features, Combine. Let's tick the 3 of them. And this should take a pretty decent fillet there and there. So that might even take a 10mm fillet. Maybe not. I know it certainly will take a 3 or 4mm fillet. Let's try 3 or 4. There you go. Okay. So whatever size fit 4 is a little bit big. Let's put on 3 and that'll be it then. Okay, looks good. While you're at it, we might as well take the blend look off this, and rather than putting on a fillet just to show off a different feature, we'll go to Insert, Features and a Dome, and we'll give it maybe a 4mm, and we'll tick Elliptical Dome just so you get nice continuity from edge to edge, and there you have that. And before we go any further, we'll exit this in a second. You often see the blades. In fact, the sketch picture, if I can bring it up there for a second, if I activate that, yeah, the image we use for the sketch picture has two things on it. It's got a decal with a warning, which we'll deal with later, but it's also got this little yellow bar as well. Now, I find that really helps the render. It looks really good in a render, but to get it on, there's a number of different ways of doing it, and this is the one that I found best. I'll actually roll back for a second just to get rid of the dome, so I have a nice flat surface to work on. I'm going to start a sketch of a line on that top surface. And I've changed my mind. I'm going to use a 3-point arc now. So let's do a 3-point arc there. And let's offset that by a mil. Let's actually make it 2 mil. And there we have it. So what I want to do is I want to take this face. I don't necessarily want to cut it, because in reality that's probably just a lick of paint. You don't actually cut or extrude cut or do anything like that. So I want to split that blue face so I can color it 2 different colors. And to do that, it's Features, Curves, Split Line. Let's just get rid of this. So I want to make sure it's projection. I want to project those blue lines onto that surface. So let's clear selection. I don't have to, sorry, current sketch, it picked it up. And the face is going to be that face. Press the green tick. And it almost looks like nothing has happened. Let's hide the sketch. I keep missing. There we go, it's gone there. But as you hover over, you can see that that little middle stripe, it hasn't been cut, but that face is now 3 different faces. And it simply means when it comes time to apply our material, let's go to plastic. If I want to make the whole thing black, I can then make that little sliver green with no hassle at all. Now, one little thing I should have done, of course, is I should have done that first before I moved it over. So let's see if that'll actually move up. So I'm going to take the split line up and drag it up. Yeah, so I've dragged it up before the move happened. Now the color doesn't go with it, but you can see the split does. So make sure you actually do the split before you move over the rotor. And let's roll down now and have the dome, and I'm pretty happy with that. I might just take the color off it for a moment just so I can see it clearly. Yeah, and now I'm going to go to Exit Isolate, and there I have the rotor drawn in position. Now let's just take stock. I see a sketch there I want to hide, so just click that and hide the sketch. Normally I would rename all these features, not the sketches, but just make sure there's no minuses in sketches. There's a few minuses there, like for instance if I right click that sketch and edit the sketch, if you don't want to move it, just get up here to this display delete relations and go fully defined sketch, green tick, that's fine. Okay, I have a mate on there as well, so I'm not going to worry about that. But it should actually still fully define them. So the solid bodies we've got this Boss Extrude 1, which is the main block in the middle. Cut Extrude 1, as it's called, is the arm, and then the dome, as it's called, is the rotor. They get their names from the features created to make them. So let's just put a bit of a shape on this block. Now, I drew this very basic, but you can actually, with a small bit of work, mold that block to make it quite curved and complicated looking. But for now, we'll stick with what we have. So I'm going to go to a fillet, and again I'm going to go to an asymmetric fillet, and let's just fillet the top. I don't really have any measurements in mind here. Let's just try 15, and let's try a 10, see how it looks. We can even go up to 25. I won't go to 25, just go to 20 and 10. That'll work. And let's do the same with the bottom, so let's fill it. I could have done this in the one feature. No, I couldn't have. So let's just flip it. And there we have it. Now, because the arm actually went all the way into the middle, applying the fillet now didn't have any problem with it. It's very important that this arm and that rotor are different bodies, because when we come to mirror it in a few minutes, it usually fails when you try to mirror all the features used to create it. It's much neater just to mirror 2 bodies, the arm and the rotor. Now it doesn't, sorry, this isn't vital, but in some cases it is. You can see that arm runs all the way into the middle there. When we combine those in a minute, that won't matter. But just in the off chance that you want that arm to be cut off just smooth with this block. There's an easy way of doing it, and it's a nice feature to show off. It's the indent feature. So let's go to Insert, Features, Indent. The target body is the body that's going to be cut. So this arm is going to be cut. It's going to be shaped. The tool body is what's going to do the shaping. So this block in the middle is going to do the shaping. And just make sure you select Cut and press OK, the green tick. Now what's actually happened is that that arm has been cut and sliced and trimmed at that solid. So it's a very useful feature. Now in this instance that wasn't important, but it's fine for now. Let's now do some mirroring. I know I have more complexity to add to those arms, but the good thing is you can always go back, add it, and it'll follow through with the mirrors. So let's go to Mirror, and the first plane is going to be the right plane. Make sure you click Bodies to Mirror. A lot of the times Features to Mirror becomes active. You want Bodies to Mirror. I want to mirror that arm and that rotor, and press the green tick over here. For now I will not merge solids. Let's leave them be different solids. Let's do the same thing in the opposite direction, mirror. This time I'm going to use the front plane. The bodies to mirror will be the two rotors and the two arms, and there we have it. Now at this point we can split the casing itself later, but I do want to shell it. Now if I shell this, just that block will shell, and I'll have to shell all the arms separately. So what I'll do is go Insert, Features, Combine, join the four arms onto this middle piece, and at least now it's all one solid piece. And just before I shell it, I'm going to apply a fillet there and there and to the other two places. Now that should take a big enough fillet, and it makes it look pretty realistic. So let's get rid of the asymmetric fillet, put on a symmetric fillet, and you can see there it should take a pretty good one, 30 or even 40. Yeah, it might even be overkill, but I'll let it run. And that's all one solid block. Now you could even do some free forming on the top there, or work a bit of magic to make it look a bit more complicated. But let's now shell that and hollow that out. So shell. And because there are, 5 bodies, it doesn't know which body I want to shell. So I'm going to set the shell value to, let's say, 2 mil. And in here, you have to tell it which of the solid bodies you want to hollow out. I don't want to hollow out the rotor, so click this block and then press the green tick. It's very important that you leave this faces to remove blank, because I don't want any opening. Just press the green tick. That was just a little notification saying that because of some of the fillets, it can't guarantee the 2 mil thickness everywhere. So hit the section view and you can see, hopefully as I go along there, you can see the whole thing is hollowed out for your electronics or whatever. Let's cancel that and do that. Now, just before I move on to the leg, that to me looks a little bit artificial. It looks very mirrored because all 4 rotors are going in the exact same direction. So what I like to do at this stage is go Insert, Features, Move Copy. Let's select this rotor. Make sure you deselect Copy this time. And then just use this curved bar here just to twist it about itself until you get an orientation that shows the rotor off best. Same thing over here. That one I can't really see much of it, so let's go to Insert, Features, Move Copy. I'm going to select that rotor. Again, make sure Copy is off, and just rotate it with this until you see a nice profile. And the last one, I will actually do this one as well. So let's go to Insert, Features, Move Copy, click the rotor, and just drag it around that way. And there you have it. What I'm going to do now is put a decal on there, because most of these, I see there's a bit of an issue there with the green image coming through. I don't know where I slipped up there a while ago, but we'll worry about that later. Most of these have a little logo on them. So if I just move over to PowerPoint, I'll talk through getting the decal ready for the warning. So if you can find an image on the internet that actually has the warning logo, or the text itself, good and well. I couldn't find one, so I just put a couple of text boxes together and made them here. And then I just took a screen grab of them, and that's what I'm moving around the screen there. Now the screen grab, let me just show you. If I take another screen grab here, you take a screen grab and put it in, it usually has the white background, and that's not something I want coming through onto my model later. So what I'm going to do is double click the image, go up here to Color, Set Transparent Color, and then click the white. Now I have a nice image with a clear background that isn't going to look like a white sticker stuck on. The only thing you have to do is when saving this image, right click this image, Save as Picture, but save it as a PNG file. A PNG file will hold the clear background. So back in SOLIDWORKS, and I just forgot to say that it's important to, let's just get rid of that, it's important to save that image that you're going to use as a decal in the same place as all your parts. Now if I go to Render Tools, if Render Tools isn't there, right click and turn on Render Tools here. Let's go to Edit Decal, browse to find that decal, and I just have that buried in here somewhere. And this is the one. You can see JPEG is there, but I want the PNG. The PNG will bring in a clear background. So once the PNG is loaded in here, click that surface, and it's not unusual for it to come in black like that with a black background. I know you're expecting a clear background, but if you just go over here to go use decal image alpha channel, tick that, and you can scale it up with those handles, and you can rotate it with those, and press the green tick. And in fact, I might just put some black on that. Let's see how it looks. Let's go low gloss black plastic onto that body, and you can see it looks pretty good. Now the reason I'm putting on the decal now rather than later is if you go to Insert Features, Move, Copy, and you go rotating those, the decal typically stays put. I didn't rotate it enough there. Insert Features, Move, Copy. You can see if you move it enough, the decal actually stays put, you see. So it's not worth putting them on first if you plan on moving the rotors. In fact, the way we're drawing this as well, we've got 5 parts. Well, technically we probably only have 2 parts here. We've got the rotor and the body. You often have to reapply the decals out in the assembly later anyway, so it mightn't be the best use of your time to put on those decals now. In any case, let's now just worry about putting some legs onto this. So to do that, I'm going to look at the front plane straight on, and I'm not going to be too fussy. I'm just going to draw a line starting somewhere well up into the body of the drone, just a spline down like that, just a 2-point spline. Click the spline and set this start point, click the diamond and set that to be vertical. It's a little bit wide there, so I'm going to pull it in a small bit, and you can massage and adjust those any way you like, so that'll work. So that's where that is. Now on the, let's go to the right plane. I'm going to draw, let's use some 3-point arcs. The important thing is that make sure I start this 3-point arc at least below where that line is. So that line I'm after drawing, that curve starts there. I'm going to come down a little bit. Just going to draw a 3-point arc, let's say that way. And it's a little bit high. I'm going to draw another 3-point arc starting here, going over there and up like that, and I kind of want that to be centered. So what I'll do is I'll draw a center line from the start to the end, and I'll right click that center line, select midpoint, I'll hold Control and select the origin and make sure they're vertically aligned. And then what I'll do is I'll just maybe put in a 3-point arc here as well. I'll try to get those to be a tangent. Yeah, so all I'm doing is I'm holding Control, selecting the 2 curves, and hitting tangent. There you have it. And the last thing I'm going to do, just to make sure it's nice and symmetrical, is I'm going to draw a center line down the middle. I'm going to turn on my trim tool and trim away that half. So I've got half the arc I want. Let's now go to Mirror Entities. The entities to mirror are those 3 arcs, or you can put any shape you like on this. Mirror about this middle line, and there you have it. So I still don't have a 3D curve, but I have the makings of one. I've got what the curve and the leg looks like from the plan, or not the plan, the elevation and the end view. So let's go to Features, Curves, Project Curve, and make sure this is Sketch on Sketch. Select both sketches. You should then get a 3D curve like that. So it might be a little bit big, but the concept is there. What I want to do now is sweep a profile along that to generate one of those legs that you see a lot of these drones having. To make sure I get a nice sketch profile at 90 degrees to that curve, I can go to Features, Reference Geometry, Plane, select the curve and select the endpoint. Now I have a plane, and you can pick whatever curve you like. For now, just for simplicity, I'm going to sketch a circle. And sometimes it doesn't snap on there, no matter. Draw it off to one side, then hold Control and select the middle of the circle and select the spline, and then select Make Pierce. Green tick. Let's hide the plane now. Right click it. Sorry, it's not working. Click it and hide. Oh, the sketch is open. I'll do it in a second. So now go to Features, Swept Boss Base. We're going to sweep that circle along that path. And there you have it. Now I'm going to not merge. So in Options, don't merge the result, because it depends on whether or not you want that to be cut into it or just butting up against it. You can please yourself. So now I can right click the plane and I can hide it. This curve always stays visible. So over here in the Feature Manager, right click the curve and hide it. And the last thing we got to do then is go to Mirror, and let's mirror that leg. So it's going to be the right plane. I want bodies to mirror, which is going to be that leg. And there you have it. So there's a lot to still be finished with that. I mean, the camera has to be mounted onto the bottom, which isn't that difficult to do. These arms, you can do a little bit of work with those. If you want to do that, grab this rollback bar and drag it all the way up. I've gone too far with it. Drag it all the way up until you just have one of the arms like that, and then you can work your magic. Let's just put a slot here. Let's look 90 degrees to it. And let's just put like a little indentation here. Try again, sorry, different type of slot. Straight slot. And let's just go Features, Extruded Cut. Just to save time, I'm just going to cut it down, say 6. It's fine for now. That's it. And then if I right click that bar and go Roll to End, give it a chance there. Hopefully that will have happened in all 4 of those arms. So it's no harm to leave them pretty simplistic at the start, then roll back and do a bit of work to them. Now just for the likes of concepts, thing I see in a lot of them is if I just sketch, and I just use a slot again because it's handy, a slot. You see, just to lose some of the weight of these drones, you can go Features, Extruded Cut, and of course I could have done this earlier. I'm doing it now, mid-plane, all the way through. And there you have it. Now I like that because it shows off more features, it makes the model look more busy, but the more notches and dents and decals and things you have in a model like this, the better the renders will appear later. So there's a bit of work left to do on that. I mean, it certainly isn't bad. If you look at the Feature Manager, you've showcased a lot of very nice features. You've done things quite efficiently. But of course there needs to be, say, a camera, maybe some decals and a bit more work done with the top there. So going back to the very first image that sparked all this, you can see there's not a lot of work left to do on it. I've applied some materials, applied some decals, just put some features, some extrusions, some sweeps, some surface cuts there, just to make the render a little bit more busy and make the model look a bit more finished. But in terms of complexity, it certainly isn't bad. There's a lot of features shown off.